Hi guys, so today we are going to be breaking down sprint mechanics, as you would have seen from the title of the video. Before we start, I just want to remind you to like the video if you enjoy it and subscribe to the channel for more videos like this. So now without further ado, let's get into it. So as we can see here, the athlete has his knee brought up to roughly a 90-degree angle. If you're a few degrees out, it doesn't really matter, but what that does is it obviously allows the athlete to have a longer stride, but it also allows more time for the athlete's leg to accelerate towards the ground. And when the knee is brought up so high, it stretches out the tendons in the glutes, which causes a recoil effect on the way back down to the ground, which adds power to impact on the ground. Now, just so you understand what that actually means, try lifting your middle finger up without your other hand and slam it on the table. Now what I want you to do is lift it up with your other hand and slam it on the table just a little bit. Now a bit more. Now as far as it can go. The reason that it slams harder on the table the further up it is because the tendons in your hands are pulling your finger back into its natural position, and it's the exact same thing as what happens when you're sprinting. The tendons in your glutes pull your leg back to its natural position, adding more power. So another important factor is the timing and the placement of the leg and arm swing. So as you can see here, the leg that is bent and coming forward is almost in perfect alignment with the leg that's already on the ground, and you'll also notice that the arms are both down by side, so all limbs should be almost perfectly timed, along with the placement of the foot on impact to the ground. The foot should be directly under, or as close as you can get to being straight under your center of mass. This allows the momentum to keep on going with no braking force. Gravity can also be used to the athlete's advantage. So as we can see here, this red line is the surface of the track, and this yellow line that I'm about to draw now is the athlete. So as we can see, the yellow line is slightly perpendicular to the red line. So the green arrow is gravity acting down on the athlete, and since the gravity will be hitting them at an angle, this will pull the athlete down towards the ground in front of him, and since his feet are constantly catching under a centre of mass, that will cause a force going forward, which will pull the athlete forward towards the finish line. Force application in sprinting works by the athlete slamming his foot into the ground, and the power that is projected downwards and backwards on the ground is recoiled by the ground back up into the athlete's foot, which propels the athlete forward. Therefore, the more force you can efficiently apply to the ground, the further you're going to be propelled forward in every stride. Here's a nice little side-by-side of Justin Gatlin and Usain Bolt that I pulled from the BBC. What I'm going to be showing here is the efficiency of the upper body in sprinting. So as we can see here, when these two athletes run, Justin Gatlin is nice and solid. His shoulders don't really stray away from the red line, and his upper body doesn't really stray outside of the yellow line, other than the obvious movement that there's going to be in the upper body in sprinting that you can't avoid no matter how strong and efficient you are. But with Usain Bolt, his shoulders are rocking constantly, his body is moving from left to right, so what that does is that disperses all the power from his upper body out to the sides, whereas with Justin Gatlin just constantly driving forward, all his power is getting dispersed straight into the ground. So although yes, Usain Bolt was the faster athlete, Justin Gatlin was the more efficient athlete. Okay, so now that we have top end speed sprinting done, I'm going to speak about the drive phase. So the drive phase, we see the athlete here, he's at roughly a 45-degree angle. In the drive phase, we progressively come to an upright. We don't go straight up. This allows us to accelerate more efficiently, as we'll be pushing back against the ground rather than clawing the ground as if we were in an upright sprint. So as we see, he's slightly more upwards here. He is still progressing to that upright position, and it's only now that we see him coming to an upright to reach his full speed. Now the drive phase will differ for everyone, because there's loads of different factors for each different athlete. Your speed, how much training you've had in drive phase, how your height can affect it. So there's no one distance that's best for drive phase. It's a very individual kind of thing. Now here's a front view of the drive phase. What I want to showcase here is how the athlete doesn't stray outside the red lines. He keeps his feet right in front of him all the time, going straight forward. Now there's two different techniques for drive phase. There's this technique going straight forward, and there's the sidestep technique, which if you looked at videos of Tyson Gay starting, he uses that technique. In my opinion, this forward technique is the best, because it just keeps all your momentum going forward all the time. Finally, we have the start. So as we can see here, Christian Coleman, he has his back leg in the blocks at roughly 125-degree angle, front leg roughly 90-degree angle. His shoulders are slightly in front of the start line, which is going to cause a fall forward, a slight fall forward. He'll be caught with his legs. His back is straight, which will aid him in having a complete straight body when he comes out of the blocks, which we will see here now in a second. Yeah, so as we can see here, big first step out of the blocks. His body is still in line with each other. His ankles are in line with his shoulder. Big first step out of the blocks without overstriding. Now, this is what separates the average starter from the elite starter. So as you can see, the athlete has his feet extremely close to the ground in not just the first step out of the blocks, but also the first few steps of his drive phase. Now, what this does is it leaves very little distance for the feet to travel towards the ground. Therefore, the feet will be hitting the ground very, very quickly, and it leaves very little wasted time with the feet airborne. Now, when most athletes are taught this, they will be told to drag their toe across the ground, which, in my opinion, it works, but it's not the most efficient way, because when you drag your toe across the ground, there will be a friction resistance against your foot, which will slightly decelerate the speed of your foot. So, in my opinion, the most efficient way is get used to bringing your foot only slightly, like only maybe a few millimeters off the ground, but avoid actually dragging your toe along the ground. So your foot will still be extremely close to the ground, but there won't be that friction resistance. Now, another thing I want you to know is how high the athlete's heel is off the ground. When your foot strikes the ground on your first few steps of your start, your foot should be solid and your heel should be high up off the ground to create that recoil and make sure that none of that recoil power is lost. So compare that with this start by Usain Bolt. We see his feet are very high off the ground. His foot, as you can see now, is, without even zooming in on it, you can see his foot went fairly flat foot there, so a lot of that recoil energy would have been lost there. Now, another factor is the angle of the foot. So the foot should be dorsiflexed, so it should be pulled up towards the shin. Now, what this does is it creates a tension on the Achilles tendon, like how we talked about earlier with top end speed sprinting. So when the foot comes back in contact with the ground, the extra tension in the Achilles tendon will recoil and cause more power to be applied to the ground. This dorsiflexion of the ankle should be carried the entire way through the race, as it not only helps in drive phase, but the extra tension in the Achilles helps to apply extra force the whole way to the finish line. So yeah, that's about it for that. If anything was wrong here, you want to make any kind of corrections or anything, just leave a comment below or DM me on Instagram or whatever. But yeah, guys, I hope you gained some sort of knowledge out of that. If you enjoyed the video, please remember to like, subscribe to the channel. If you want any other kind of breakdowns of not just running but any kind of sport at all, just leave a comment down below on what you want me to do a video of, and I'll do a video breaking it down. I'm doing these videos every Monday. I'm doing my journey video playlists on Wednesdays. I'll leave a link for that up here, and my vlog playlist up here, which I'll be doing on Fridays. So yeah, that's about it. Thanks for tuning into the video, and I will see you in the next one.